doing super good, and then
till it wasn't.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We want to do a walk around at the race of some upgrades we did to the truck before Rage at the River. With everything going on, we didn't have time and we forgot to. So now that we're back at home, kind of do a post-race recap, and then also just talk about some of the upgrades that we did and some of the basically prep we did. So the truck got a complete prep. All new uniballs, Heims, everything, and then we replaced the front tie rods. They were original tie rods that we built for the truck, and just over the years of abuse, they started to slightly bow. They were only DOM. We replaced them with DOM again. I figure if they lasted that long, there's no reason to do chromoly. Tie rods, actually, this long of a tie rod, they'll actually flex when you're going through travel and stuff. So if you've ever seen, like, I got a video somewhere where this thing's going through the whoops on Devil's Slide, and you can see the tie rod actually, it almost looks like a wet noodle. It's crazy. So we ended up replacing those with new ones, and then other than that, on the front end, it basically just got a full prep. We sandblasted and painted everything on the truck, so it looks nice and clean now. It's not all rusted like it used to be. And then we ended up adding a new GPS to the interior. So we went with a Lowrance 12-inch GPS. It was on sale, so we ended up going with that. Had to make a custom mount, and then I did a custom billet mount that actually bolts on. So if we need to adjust it, we can adjust it. But that's all done. As far as the interior, we didn't do anything else. That was pretty much it on the interior. We did put the kids' seats back in because we went out for King of the Hammers and New Year's. But doors are a little sticky. I'll talk about that in a second. We ended up getting wrapped up with someone at Rage at the River. So on the rear, what we did on the rear of the truck is we actually added our sway bar to it. Kind of hard to see, but you can see the sway bar. So that helped the truck out a lot. Not that it needed it, but it definitely adds a little bit of confidence coming into corners. And then the other thing that we did do on the rear, this is just minor stuff that we've always wanted to do. This is our billet fuel plate. It's all 6061 billet. It allows you to use the existing filler, and then we have a custom 1-inch tip over valve, and then also I adapted it to where you can add a sending unit, because this fuel cell never came with a sending unit. So we did do that. Other than that,
Got our first sponsor for the race.
Yeah, so Clean Desert actually sponsored us for Rage at the River, which was any little bit helps, you know. When you're a self-funded race team, it's very hard to make it to these races, and it's very expensive, so anything helps at the end of the day. Taylor with High Desert Off-Road rebuilt the rear bypasses for us. They were leaking. I was gonna do it, but I ran out of time, and Taylor offered to do it, so we had him do that. He also rode in the third seat with us as well during the race. And then Minworks rushed us a new box, so luckily he ended up getting us the box before the race. It was just going to be a spare box, and we ended up needing it. So as you see the damage, we half of the grill, or a quarter of the grill's missing. This basically front section of the cab got mashed up. It pushed the door back about an inch, and then it also, if you can see right here, it pushed the door into the rear door. So you can see how it all collapsed. We ended up having to cut some of the inner panel out of the door. It's like a main structure that goes to the door for an accident.
Because this happened day one.
So day one, about first lap, about
6 miles in.
Yeah, 6 to 8 miles in. We were making a pass with some other vehicles. We were passing another vehicle, and he ended up coming into us as we were passing him. Later I found out that he had broken an axle, so when he hit the gas, it actually pitched the car and went into us. So it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just part of racing, you know. No one was upset. We talked about it after. It's just part of the game. So now we're gonna have to get 2 new doors, and then I'm gonna have to go to the junkyard and actually cut out this whole section of the cab and re-graft it back in. I used to do body work for a living back in the day, so it shouldn't be that big a deal. I just gotta cut all the spot welds out. I'll have to remake this panel right here because it got messed up. There's no reason to try to straighten it. And then we'll put 2 new doors on the cab, and then we're also gonna repaint the truck at this point, and we might update the glass, we might not. We don't know what we're gonna do with that yet.
Is the one piece wasted?
The one piece got pretty bad. We'll show some pictures of that. But other than that, truck ran great both days after on the steering box. So we ended up getting wrapped up with him, and somehow we got linked up. I don't know exactly what happened, but the tire took most of the brunt of the hit, and it ended up the sector shaft on the steering box was almost cracked all the way around. We'll put a picture into the video as well. How it held up for the rest of the race, I don't know. We still ran a pretty fast race pace for day one.
Well, we still had 3.5 laps.
Yeah, we had 3.5 laps after that. So you know, God was on our side, and he kept the steering box together. It didn't let go. I mean, some points we were running 80 miles an hour down the straightaways, so luckily it held up. The thing I noticed was after that, after the hit, the steering wheel was like halfway turned, so I took it off, reset it, and that can happen with the worm gear inside the steering box. I've had it happen before, and what happened is the steering box actually had almost a full half a turn of play after that, so I drove the rest of the race with that play in it. And then we pulled into the pits after the race. We'd finished. We got out and assessed it, and the steering box was almost, the sector shaft was almost cracked all the way around on the top, and then on the bottom it had another crack going through it. So luckily it stayed together. It didn't damage anything else. Everything else held up. And we had a spare steering box that Min had built us, so we were able to put that on the truck and then finish day 2. Because I wouldn't have ran day 2 with the way that steering box was. It was just unsafe. There's no reason to wad up the truck just to finish a race. Luckily the truck held together, everything ran great. We put down good lap times. We ended up getting 4th place overall. I think we started like 14th or 15th off the line day 1, and then 7th off the line day 2, and we ended up pulling off 4th place, which for a stock motor with a heavy truck with 40s, we were happy with that. So
And finishing.
Yeah, and finishing. That was our 2nd time finishing Rage at the River, which everybody knows Rage at the River is like one of the worst courses out there. It was pretty wrecked day 2. And then other than that, after this walk around, we're actually pulling the truck into the shop, and we're gonna pull the motor. We got the new motor back from our buddy Trent. He originally, a friend of mine, Josh, and his brother-in-law built the original bottom end of the motor. At that time we didn't have the money to finish the top end, so we brought the motor back home, and then saved up some money. Robert Maruzzi took the heads and had them all CNC ported and done up for the motor. And our buddy Trent Morris actually finished assembling the motor. It's got forged internals. It's got nice pistons in it. I think they're male or mainly. I don't know how to pronounce the name. And then it's also got it's got all ARP head bolts, lower main bolts. I mean, it's about as built as the motor can be. We built it over the past 10 years. So we're going to be putting that motor in. It will be supercharged. It's going to have should be about 800 horsepower reliable. We'll probably detune it to about 6 or 7 just to get longevity out of it. But that's going to be the next stage for this truck. And then after that, we're actually adding bigger shocks to the rear for the bypasses. Brett at King got us hooked up with those. Once those show up, I'll talk more about them. They should bolt directly into the truck with no modifications. Once we pull the motor, we're going to sandblast the firewall and underneath the truck and paint it and get it all cleaned up.
Do you want to talk about why we're choosing to go with bigger shocks for the rear?
So the reason we're ended up going with bigger shocks for the rear is not because the truck doesn't work good right now. The reason being is originally when Kevin with Dialed tuned the truck, he talked about adding an extra tube to the bypass. There's a weird zone in the truck to where it'll pack up a little bit.
Because you're running, what, 3.5s?
Yeah, we're running 3.5 inch.
And 4's on the front, right?
And then 4.0's on the front. So with that being said, rather than taking the shock completely apart, having the tube added, sending it out to be recoated, you know, we decided just to buy new shocks and sell those shocks. So at the end of the day, it just made more sense than trying to add more tubes to a pre-existing shock.
Plus they're smaller and...
Yeah, they're smaller diameter. The truck's only getting faster with the new motor. You know, they're just going to heat up faster. So it's like, it was at the point where, you know, either we make some changes or just go with something different. So we ended up going with a bigger diameter shock. So when we added the sway bar, we accounted for all that, the measurements of the new bypass, everything. So that's exciting. And then yeah, with the new motor, it's going to be a whole new animal. I'm going to have to take some time to learn to drive it again and, you know, just get used to the truck. So other than that, just stay tuned for what's next in store for the race truck. So to take the motor out on this thing, because the shocks are so inboard, to get the proper shock angle, we got to remove that top cross member, and we got to pull all the shocks off before we can do so, and then the motor will actually come out of the center portion. So that's what we're doing right now. AC pump. This originally was going to be like a luxury style pre-runner. Then we turned it into a race truck, so no more need for that.
Crackers, not cookies. Crackers, crackers.
I'm going to put them across the front of the transmission with the converter.
Like a flat piece of angle iron and some clamps.
Fly out.
Yeah. And that's still from your store. I'll put some salt in my mouth. She got it, huh? Apparently.
This side just starts to leak out in the head.
What?
Well, you can start to leak oil out of the head with the head gaskets well on this side.
So we're close to blowing up.
And old Betsy's finally gonna get a new heart. So we got the mid plate in there. We're gonna do some sandblasting and painting, coating of the everything that's rusted in there, and just get it all cleaned up. Check everything for cracks. You know, this motor hasn't been out since she started driving, so now's the time to do it. Check everything, make sure everything's good. If there's any cracks, go ahead and weld them up, grind them out, get them ready. It's exciting. Betsy's getting a new heart.
He's just crying because the tune's bad.
So it's leaking out of where now?
From the freaking fuel pump.
Yeah, the fuel pump itself is bad. I'm like making theories, I'm trying to wrap my head around it.